This is attempt number 4 at doing this video. I can't seem to remain completely coherent throughout a single take, which by the nature of this video I need to do it in one take because a lot of people on YouTube hate me. As a result, I've decided to torture myself throughout the production of this video. I'm not going to be able to maintain it, but off and on. And when I say torture myself, I don't mean I'm listening to a Nephilim-free video in order to critique it. This here is saltwater and ice. So, let's begin. This video is on how badly... I've apparently built up a tolerance to it. In my first take, had a long reaction to this. But anyways, this video is about how casually the phrase child abuse is tossed about in religious discussion. It is ridiculous. In the comments of my most recent video, someone asserted that, that essentially, it didn't say what they were talking about, but the context, it's pretty clear they're talking about my being raised religiously. They said that I have been, quote, abused by my parents. Yeah. Creationists have been known to do this too, so it comes from both sides. A certain creationist who will remain unnamed put in the description box to one of his videos, the statement, my hands will go back in this later, just give me a second to recover. The statement that, not teaching children creationism is child abuse. So both sides do this, even if atheists do it more, and in my experience, they do. Before I get specifically exactly what my two main problems with this are, let's discuss briefly what real child abuse is. There are parents out there who beat their children. There are parents out there who beat their children severely. There are a few parents out there who beat their children so severely that they have to go to the hospital in an ambulance. I don't know specifically, but there might be children who force their parents to dunk their hands in salt water and ice, and my parents are in no way forcing me to do this, by the way. I am doing this of my own free will. There are these horrible parents out there who they talk down to their children, get horrifically enraged at very minor offenses. They do just awful, awful, horrible things. Things so bad that we take the children away from the parents, and put limits on the amount of contact the two can have and the circumstances of that contact. And you are comparing this to instilling me with beliefs that, in all likelihood, will never harm me in any way. And certainly the instilling does not directly harm me. Even if the parent is, doing, teaching the child horrible things like the Westboro Baptist Church's beliefs. Do we take away, and should we take away, the Phelps family's children? And if there are other members of the Westboro Baptist Church, I'm honestly not positive that there are. I'm pretty sure there are, actually. But do we take away their children for teaching their children to believe in horrible things? And do you really think we should? Do you really honestly think we should? Do you think that, take a moderate Christian, because that's all I was really raised to be. I wasn't raised to be a fundamentalist. Do you really think that, Christian Joe, bringing their child to church on Sundays and teaching them to believe in Christianity actually warrants separating them with limited visitation. Do you really think that? Really think that? Yeah, I'm sure there are some people who do, who think that, you know, me being raised as a Protestant as I was, and I don't know that I really still am being, but, there are people who probably do think I should have or should be taken away from my parents, and therefore, you know, the 80% of Americans that are Christians, you know, plus all of the people of all the other religions, all of them have to have their children taken away and put either in the very small minority of religious parents which won't try to pass on their beliefs, or in the homes of atheists. But that's not an in-principle problem, that's just an in-practice problem. But are we to compare... I realize I'm repeating myself over and over again, so let me consult my notes and go directly to my two problems. 1, it is shallow rhetoric, and I dislike this. I hate just shallow rhetorical remarks such as, you know, raising children with religion is child abuse, so how friggin' horrible. It is, I mean, I just dislike it in that way for that reason. But secondly, and I think the worst problem with it, anyone who has been beaten by their parents is free to contradict me on this. I'd imagine it's rather offensive to people who have suffered real child abuse for someone to, as a method of empty rhetoric, compare raising children to believe things, the belief in which will probably not harm them. You know, that's gotta be that's gotta be offensive to people who, up until they were 8 or 9 years old, lived with their father who hit them. You know, I mean, again, someone who's actually been through that experience, if it is in no way offensive at all, if you really think that, you know, living in a home with religion would have been sufficiently bad to warrant the same label as what you experienced, leave a comment, and I will put a video white annotation over this, you know, put it in the description, maybe even change the title. Say that someone who has really been child abused has said that they are comparable. I do not expect this. So, I mean, even like fundamental spreads, like, you know, some may say that if you raise your child to believe in young Earth creationism, then there's some careers they can't get. Firstly, that is not comparable with beating them. Secondly, yes, you can have a young Earth creationist who's a scientist. His name is Jason Lyle. He works at Answers in Genesis. He has a real degree from a real university and has done actual scientific research. So it is possible. About the worst thing I can think of that might happen to you because you're being raised in any religion with reasonable prevalence. You know, and I'm not saying you can't have religiously motivated child abuse, by the way, but that's like cults who sacrifice their children. You know, about the worst thing I could think is someone could be raised to believe things that some would deem homophobic and, you know, lose their job or have a damaged reputation over saying them in public. That's about the worst thing I could conceive of. And are we really going to take children away from parents over that? And even if, are we really going to compare it to, you know, children who are being beaten and children who are being verbally abused and treated like crap by their parents? I mean, It's just ridiculous, and everyone needs to stop it. Stop it now. Please limit your utilization of the phrase child abuse to referring to actual fucking child abuse. And with that, this video is over. It's the last torture minutes. This sucks, by the way. If you don't believe that this sucks, this is more responsible for my elevated tone of voice than actually is the topic of this discussion, because I've done 4 takes of this. If you don't believe that this sucks, make ice water and salt and dip your hand in it. But anyways, that's all I have to say. Goodbye. This just occurred to me for a brief addendum. I'm gonna try to keep it in all throughout this addendum. People who have been, or people who are atheists who were raised with religion, what do you think about this argument? Do you think you were abused as a child when you were raised with religion? Please answer in the comment section if you think so. Bye-bye.